Welcome to the Northern Michigan Update. I'm State Senator Jason Hallan, and it's a privilege to have you here. And today we have Jim Hallan from the Michigan Retailers. Jim, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for the honor.
Tell me a little bit about the Michigan Retailers, the history of the organization, and your involvement.
Sure. Michigan Retailers actually started back in 1939, organized in 1940, right after the Depression, when sales tax went into effect. Retailers were struggling with how to collect sales tax. So, as with a lot of trade associations, they formed around a legislative issue. And since then, the organization has grown, and modestly, we can say that Michigan Retailers is the largest state general merchandise trade association in the country.
Really?
We're very honored to say that. We've figured out a way to provide services back to the retail community to let them do what they do best, merchandising, selling items on the floor. So we're involved in merchant processing, providing health and dental benefits for the members. We formed a mutual insurance company that provides workers' compensation. It's an interesting mix of members. We have 5,500 main store locations throughout the state. Every county is represented. Every county has a member within the association. And it's the very large multi-state retailers down to the very small, smallest craft shop that you can imagine. So it's very diverse.
Wow, and so that's got to be kind of an interesting mix when you start talking about the issues that you have to deal with as retailers.
Well, it really is. But we found that in probably 98, 99% of the issues, retail has a single mindset. And it's not even the large retailers versus the small retailers. They understand that in order for everybody to compete, you've got to have a healthy business environment. And on those 1% of the issues where there may be some concern, then the association says we're going to stay out of that issue and let the individual members advocate on their behalf.
Tell me a little bit about sort of how the health is of retailing right now. What are some of the trends that are going on?
Well, I'd like to say that retail is robust, but unfortunately I can't say that. It was a very tough, difficult year. Sales were basically flat. As you know, all the sectors of the economy are intermixed. So when manufacturing suffers, retail suffers. When home building suffers, retail suffers. Because in a great extent, retail follows those industries, and they're all interrelated. And the consumers like certainty, they really do, and there are so many wild cards in the environment right now, whether it's fluctuating gas prices, whether it's the subprime mortgage, whether it was the struggles that you had last year crafting the Michigan business tax. All those created a level of uncertainty, so consumers kind of retrenched. Which is unfortunate because it is a huge driver of the economy.
Right, it is. And you start taking a look at the trends that are going on. You've got growth going on in certain areas. You've got some real struggles going on, and it's interesting to talk to people out there about how retail mirrors the state economy.
Well, it really does. It is the fabric really of the Michigan economy, whether it's downtowns. And thank you for your leadership in promoting the economic development legislation for downtowns. Unfortunately, in many instances, retail has always been considered a second-class citizen in many results. And through your package of bills that we're delighted to support, it provides a focus on downtowns. What can we do to revitalize those areas? Right. It's nice to see a focus to provide that extra energy that is really needed.
Well, you take a look at the tools, and I grew up in as you know, and our family's been a member of your organization for a long time. The fabric and what a downtown does to a community is sort of the heart and soul. And we started looking at it from the next generation of entrepreneur. The first thing that they look at when they come into a community is the vibrancy of their downtown. And then they look at what I call sort of the curb appeal. And then they look at, does the school system, is it good? They start looking at hospitals, and they start looking at air service and internet. But if it doesn't have the right sort of curb appeal, it really hurts us as a state.
You're right, and your hometown, Traverse City, is one of the shining examples of what a downtown can be in Michigan. There are other great locales that have done very well. Hallan's done very well. Birmingham has done very well. Traverse City is a jewel within the state. But you're right, as people look for places to locate, it is a complex equation. And they look at what the mix is of downtown because they like that rich mixture of retail. They like to know who they're doing business with. And that's really been the survival of the Main Street retail. You know, retail is an interesting business because it churns so much. You have new players, you have businesses that go out of business, even at the very large level. We've seen the struggles that Montgomery Ward's has had, and
well, our local Kmart, you know, that used to be a Michigan-based company, and in our organization, they were one of the biggest. Weren't they one of the biggest members?
They were the largest retailer in Michigan for years, a good member of Michigan retailers. You have Jacobson's, another great Michigan nameplate. Hudson's, no longer Hudson's. So, but if you look back over the history of retail, that's fairly normal that it does change. What is really interesting, though, we started an award about 10 years ago where we honor retailers that have been in business for over 100 years.
Wow.
And it's just amazing to hear these family stories that have gone from generation to generation, and they figured out a way to move from buggy whips to whatever the new product is, to figure out a way to merchandise, to maintain that high level of customer service, and they prosper and provide a valuable component to the downtown area.
Right. Well, we're excited about sort of that because what you see when you have those families' investment is that capital stays in Michigan. Those are jobs that are long-term to the economy. And you take a look at it from the leadership of a community. Retailers have always been there and been very active in many different areas. We recently honored one of our good Traverse City citizens, a guy by the name of Bruce Rogers, who actually my sister started working for.
Oh, is that right?
For Bruce and Joyce back when she was in high school, like 1979 or 80, and learned how to be a good retailer from the Rogers. And so it's neat to see them being honored.
Yeah, Bruce and Joyce are old-time friends of Michigan retailers. Bruce is past chairman of the board of Michigan Retailers, past chairman of our work comp entity, which was a group fund. Now it's a mutual insurance company, and he has given back to the industry more than he probably ever got out of it. Just wonderful, wonderful people.
Now, talking about the industry and what are you seeing sort of on sales? Are you seeing internet? What's happening in Michigan on internet sales? Are there sort of bright bulbs and sort of small family businesses that are doing internet sales? Or
yeah, my read on the industry is 07 started out actually pretty good, and through Thanksgiving, retail sales were strong, and then right after Thanksgiving, they really dipped. The air went out of the balloon.
Yeah.
We see that continuing for the first 2 quarters of 08. As we get closer to the presidential election, historically the economy picks up. I think there's a sense of change and optimism. People start to feel good, and that reflects itself in the economy. But that's not to say that, as you all know, Michigan's got some challenges. It's got some struggles. It's got to restructure, recalibrate itself.